2024's latest American thriller Bagman shocks audiences. Based on American folklore, Bagman has already made an impressive $140 million at the box office within its first month, earning a solid 7.6 rating in North America. The story begins on an ordinary afternoon. Karina is playing with her son, Jake, on the swing in their backyard. While playing, Karina suddenly receives a work email and steps aside to handle it. As soon as she leaves, Jake, still playing alone on the swing, hears some rustling in the nearby bushes. Jake turns and sees another child in the bushes, beckoning him over. Curious, Jake leaves the swing and follows the child into the forest. When Karina returns after finishing her work, she finds Jake is missing. She frantically searches everywhere but can't find him. In her growing panic, a distant flute sound echoes from the forest. She follows the sound deep into the woods and eventually finds Jake beneath a large tree. However, Karina doesn't notice something strange behind the tree. Something seems to be moving. Since she didn't finish her work during the day, Karina leaves Jake with her husband, Patrick. That night, as Patrick is putting Jake to bed, he notices that Jake is talking to someone outside the window, though there's no one there. Just as Patrick turns away, something suddenly crashes against the window. Startled, Patrick initially thinks it's a prank, but when he looks around, he finds nothing. He sees the large tree outside swaying and assumes the object must have come from the tree. He locks the window and heads to the hallway, but then the lights begin to flicker, accompanied by a strange zipper-like sound. Patrick rushes downstairs and catches a glimpse of a shadow in the backyard. Thinking it's a burglar, he grabs a nearby bat. However, when he looks back, the shadow is gone. He assumes he's mistaken, but then he hears strange noises from the kitchen. The back door is mysteriously open, and Patrick assumes a burglar has entered the house. He rushes outside, but finds nothing. In an attempt to let the intruder know someone is home, Patrick loudly yells toward the forest, but after shouting for a while, there's still no response. Just as he's about to return inside, the strange sounds return, keeping him awake all night. The next morning, Patrick calls the police, and they thoroughly investigate the house. On the roof of the second floor, they find footprints and debris, evidence that something did hit the window last night. Confirming that there was indeed an intruder, Patrick is relieved he stayed alert. To prevent further break-ins, Patrick goes to the shed to install a light in the backyard. While searching for tools, he discovers a strange wooden carving in a drawer. Patrick remembers this carving. It was one he made when he was a child. He used to carve wood as a hobby and often went to the mountains to find the right kind of wood for his creations. Once, while looking for materials near an abandoned mine, he found a perfect tree. But as he chopped the tree, a shadowy figure appeared from the mine. Grabbed a lock of his hair and left behind the carving. From a friend, Patrick had heard a local legend about a creature that lived in the mine, the bagman. This creature was said to come out at night and kidnap disobedient children, stuffing them into a bag and taking them to the cave. Because of this legend, Patrick never returned to the mountains. As Patrick recalls this memory, his wife Karina walks in holding a flute. It turns out their son, Jake, had been playing the flute every day, which had annoyed Karina, so she asked Patrick to hide it. Patrick had casually placed it in a box in the shed. That evening, while Patrick is bathing Jake, the child suddenly demands to play the flute again. Patrick heads to the shed to retrieve it. However, as he steps away, the bathroom lights begin to flicker.
Is that Dolly?
Patrick searches the shed but can't find the flute. Thinking Karina lost it, he goes upstairs to ask her, but hears a strange noise from above. He rushes back to the bathroom, only to find that the bathroom door has somehow been locked from the inside and the lights turned off. Karina arrives, and the two of them push the door open, only to find Jake lying innocently in the bathtub. Wondering if he's being overly sensitive, Patrick heads to the kitchen for some water. When he reaches the door, he notices that the shed's skylight is now open. Thinking a thief may have returned, Patrick grabs a weapon and heads back to the shed. As he enters, he sees a shadowy figure move across the room. When he looks again, he notices a child-sized figure sitting on a chair. However, as he gets closer, he realizes the child is actually a doll. Just as Patrick begins to calm down, he notices something unsettling. The doll's hat is the same one he lost at the mine entrance years ago. With the strange events piling up, Patrick becomes more and more agitated. He returns home, only to find the wooden door mysteriously locked from the inside. Patrick remembers that he had upgraded the house's security system earlier in the day, which automatically locks the doors when they close. He climbs through the cat door to open the door from the inside, but when he gets inside, he finds a man standing on the living room ceiling. When he turns back, the figure has vanished. Convinced that there is someone in the house, Patrick searches every room, but finds nothing. Unsure, he calls the police again. The police thoroughly check the house but find no signs of an intruder. Even the dust on the ceiling fan was undisturbed. Hearing the police's findings, Patrick begins to doubt himself. Has he been imagining everything? Despite not fully understanding what's happening, Patrick remains cautious. That night, he checks the security footage to ensure his son is okay. However, as soon as he opens the tablet, he sees a figure standing in his son's room. Panicked, Patrick rushes upstairs but is stopped on the stairs when he sees a man holding a large bag at the door. The bag is moving. Patrick suddenly recalls the legend of the bagman. The creature darts into the backyard and disappears into the forest. Thinking his son has been kidnapped, Patrick runs after it. Through the forest, he reaches a valley. In a daze, he sees the bagman disappearing into a dark corner. When he gets closer, he discovers a chilling sight. The bagman has vanished into the very mine where he had chopped the tree as a child. At the mine entrance, Patrick is flooded with childhood fears. Just as he hesitates to enter, he hears Jake's voice from inside the mine. Determined, Patrick rushes into the dark tunnel. He emerges into a large chamber filled with candles and bird nests made of branches. Curious, Patrick picks up a toy and finds that the nests contain not birds, but more toys. Just then, Jake's voice echoes from deeper inside the mine. Patrick follows the sound and finds the bag that was supposed to contain his son hanging on a cliffside. In a panic, Patrick opens it, only to find a doll inside. It's the same doll he saw in the shed the previous night. As he examines it, he realizes the doll's chest is filled with gears, which he starts turning. Suddenly, the doll makes a noise, and Patrick realizes he's been tricked. Meanwhile, Patrick's son was peacefully lying in bed at home. Noticing that her husband was missing, Karina decided to take their son out to search for him. Meanwhile, Patrick, having realized he'd been deceived in the cave, could no longer remain calm. In a fit of rage, he smashed the doll and shouted into the cave, demanding to know what the bagman wanted. What he didn't notice was that the bagman was hiding in a nearby crevice. Suddenly, the bagman lunged at Patrick, trying to drag him into the cave. In the chaos, Patrick managed to break free, tumbling to the ground. However, just as he tried to get up, strange sounds emerged from the crack. It was then that Patrick realized the bagman's true target wasn't his son, but him. The bagman had been watching Patrick ever since he chopped down the tree by the cave years ago. The bagman opened a sack with Patrick's name on it, attempting to stuff him inside. In his panic, Patrick noticed a small knife in a nearby bird's nest. He quickly grabbed it and stabbed the bagman in the neck. Wounded, the bagman retreated into the crack, using the moment to escape. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Patrick struggled to leave the cave. But as he finally reached the exit, the bagman appeared before him once more. In an instant, Patrick was dragged into the sack and vanished without a trace. Shortly after Patrick's disappearance, Karina, accompanied by the police, arrived at the cave entrance. The police discovered the missing wooden flute at the entrance of the cave, but after a thorough search of the cave, they found no sign of Patrick. It was as though he had disappeared into thin air, vanishing without a trace. That's the full plot of the 2024 American thriller Bagman. Overall, the film is quite well made, particularly in its atmospheric buildup of suspense and terror. For fans of this genre, it's a must-watch.